Um, hi.
Hi.
I love Passover. It's really my favorite holiday to cook besides Thanksgiving. It's my favorite holiday to cook for because these are foods that you really don't make during the year. However, in contradiction, both of these recipes today are really year-round recipes. I'm going to start off with the Linzer tart. The recipe is from Paula Scheuer's Passover Menu book. It's a wonderful book. She's got great ideas and table setting and entertaining ideas as well. But I have to say that many years ago, when I first started baking, my very first cookbook was the New York Times cookbook. And my specialty out of that cookbook was their Linzer tort. And it's just, it has everything that I love. It's a nut crust and raspberry jam. You can use any flavor jam that you like. But how it translates to Passover is it's a nut crust. And so everything in it is perfect for the holiday. And so we're going to get started with that. We have to, because because there's no flour and there's really no binder besides some margarine, we have to freeze the dough. So I'm going to get started on the Linzer tort, get whatever I need to into the freezer. We're going to make the kugel, get that into the oven, and go back to the Linzer tort. There's the recipe and a picture of it, and it's really very pretty. Let me show you what I'm using. I'm using a tart pan with a removable bottom so that when you go to serve it, this sits right on the plate and it's very easy to cut. If you don't have a tart pan with a removable bottom, you can use any type of fluted dish, or you can use a pie plate. So don't think that you need anything specific. It's just traditional for a Linzer tart to be in a fluted pan. So, and I obviously, I got all the ingredients ready. I ground all the nuts. It calls for walnuts, hazelnuts, and almonds. I have a little mini food processor. If you go to buy already ground nuts, they're a fortune. Buy the whole nuts and do it yourself. It's really, really simple. So we're going to start with the margarine. So Rabbi, now we're on camera 2.
Anita, do you roast your nuts before you grind them?
I buy them roasted.
Okay.
I do. Trader Joe's will sell them raw or roasted. I always buy roasted, and I'll tell you that most of the time, if it's available, I buy the salted roasted. So just, oh, look at 2 screens. Wow, this is so professional. But can you see?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to get the margarine going. So that's going to take a minute. And let's get that back down there again.
Will the recipe be posted somewhere?
Rabbi has them posted.
It's on the chat, but how do you get it off the chat?
Rabbi?
It was also in today's email, so you could get it through the email right underneath Benita's picture.
Okay, we're going to get this back on, and this is noisy. I apologize. Now, the recipe calls for 1.5 cups of almonds. I use roasted salted almonds with the skin. So there goes the 1.5 cups of almonds. It calls for 1 cup of walnuts. What I use are, Trader Joe's sells walnut pieces. I use those. And 1/2 cup of hazelnuts. And hazelnuts just gives it that wonderful, wonderful flavor. We're going to get that going. Next.
How much margarine did you use?
I have 1 stick. 1 stick. And so when you're buying margarine in Phoenix that's kosher for Passover, the best you can do is get that whole block. I
Right.
haven't found it. And so you have to eyeball, so it's kind of a stick. Cut that block into 4, and then you have your 4 sticks of margarine. So we're going to get that going. This is a very, very crumbly dough. What I know I'm going to end up doing is crushing it with my hands, because those really are your best mixer. The next thing to add is the potato starch, which I've weighed out, and the granulated sugar. It's half a cup and a quarter cup of sugar. So let's get this going. Start it on low so you don't get all the powder everywhere. And then let that mix. And always with the crust that calls, that has butter in it, you want to crumble it with your fingers and get the pieces incorporated, but don't smash the pieces completely, because that gives a lot of flavor to your crust. So there we go. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this off. I'm going to move my mixer out of the way. My production supervisor happens to be working. He actually has a job. There we go.
You know, Doug Ducey has opened up the whole of Arizona. So maybe next month we'll all congregate in your kitchen.
Who here? That would be fine with me. I used to do cooking classes when we lived up in Scottsdale, and I had a really large kitchen with a very, very large island. And so I could have about 12 or 15 people around my island. And that was always a lot of fun. So if you can see what I'm doing, Rabbi, if we could take a look in here. I'm using my hands and getting the crumbs together just to mix it up well, mix up all the nuts. And then you're going to want to take about half of your dough and put it into either your pie plate or your fluted pan with the removable bottom, or a decorative fluted plate. So we're going to take about half or a little more.
Do you spray it?
No, because there's so much butter and it's nuts, and the nuts won't stick. So what I like to do is, and she also suggests it in the, because I'm always, when I do something like this, a crumble crust, run out for it and not have it to go all the way up the sides of the pie plate. So I always do the sides first. So we're going to just press this against here and make it like a 1/4 to a 1/3 of an inch. I'm not sure what she says on the recipe. And I have never made a sponge cake for Passover, I have to admit, because why? There's so many other wonderful things to make. The other day I made, because a day can't go by that my husband doesn't have a cookie of some sort. And so I made a Passover biscotti, chocolate chip biscotti. It's just such a delicious recipe. It's a Susie Fishbein recipe. So here we go. Once I do this, I'm going to get this into the freezer. It does have a lattice top, and we will make a lattice top. But we're not going to do, it's not going to be a traditional lattice because this isn't a traditional dough and it will crumble. You can't lift it once it's down. So you'll see how we're going to do it.
That's with half the dough you're working now.
Anybody have any questions so far?
You're working,
Has anyone ever made a Linzer tart?
yes, but not like this.
But not, oh, okay.
Now, you're still working with half the dough, is that correct?
Yep, there's the other.
Yep.
There we go. I
That's for-
still have half left. And we're going to work with that half in a minute. I just want to get this pressed in real nice. You want to have your sides a little bit thicker. And it serves up so pretty. Make sure you get the corners pressed in. Here we go. I cleared out a shelf in my freezer. And we're ready to go. So I'm just going to put this in my freezer. Okay, now for the rest of the dough, and we call it dough, what you're going to want to do is take, the recipe now calls for a half a cup of confectioner's sugar. So you're going to want to take the rest of your confectioner's sugar, put it into the rest of your dough. I'll start off with a spatula so that, but again, I'm going to get up to using my fingers. So this will make for a really nice, sweet top. Let's get this up. And squeeze it together to incorporate everything. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. Once we have this all incorporated, the recipe calls for, and it's always a trick that I do, is to roll this out between pieces of parchment. Just make it a lot easier. So let me get parchment. There. Dump this out. Use your hands to kind of get it together. And get that butter incorporated. Or the margarine, I beg your pardon. And then we're gonna roll it into a to the best of our ability, we're gonna roll it into a triangle. I'm using what's called a French rolling pin. I have my measures on here so that I get these are the 1/4 inch measures. The recipe, I believe, says 1/3 of an inch, but my bag didn't have 1/3 inch measures, and I'm not gonna be that particular. So we're just gonna roll this into a triangle. And this has to be frozen according to the recipe for about 45 minutes. I don't know that we're gonna let it rest for 45 minutes. I don't believe we'll have the time. So it gives it an opportunity really to just solidify so that you can work with it easier. Hopefully you can all see what I'm doing. Okay. I have a small cookie sheet. I'm going to put this on the small cookie sheet and put it in the freezer along with, I see a break, so give me a second. Ah! Well, that wasn't the idea, was it? There we go. I might not have measured my butter real well, my margarine real well when I cut it. So that could be my issue. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed that this works. I would hate for my first failure to be on, to be televised. I'm going to get this into the freezer. Let me just clean this up for a sec. And then we're going to get started on the
You could have weighed your margarine.
you're up, pardon?
You could have weighed your margarine on a scale.
I
for a
could
quarter
have.
pound.
I know, you're right. I could have. But I needed you to remind me, Ethel. I just thought my eyeball was going to work. Okay. Next recipe. You talk. Oh, you can hand me all that that's over there. So next recipe is spaghetti squash pogo. This is so delicious. I always have to make things before I make them with you so that I know everything else that's there. Hello, to your left. There we go. And the bowl and the recipe. Excellent. Thank you. Excellent, excellent. So I made this and was so surprised. It was so delicious. And the idea of spaghetti squash, I think could really turn you off. But this was really a great recipe. So you get a 4 to 5 pound, and this, okay, so let me just tell you one thing. On the recipe, this is from Susie Fishbine's book, Kosher by Design Cooking Coach. This is a great book. There's so many great pointers and hints about how to cook something, how to serve something, how to set your table. She's really just such an all-around great chef. The recipe, she actually posted on Facebook with an update for Passover. The one thing that she did change was the cornflake crumbs. I had not been able to find any Passover cornflakes. And so what I'm using is the crumble top. When I made it for myself last week, I used graham crackers. Today, I'm going to use the Passover biscotti that I had made this week. So take a 4 to 5 pound spaghetti squash, put it in a 350-degree oven for about an hour and 10 minutes. Don't poke it, leave it whole. And then we're going to cut it. We're going to take the seeds out.
How long did you cook it for? Bake it for?
An hour. I baked this for about an hour and 10 minutes. So let's get all the seeds out.
Can you put it in the microwave?
No. I think that I don't know how long it would be in a microwave, but a spaghetti squash is, I shouldn't say no, I'm sure you can. It's just a matter of, it will take a long time. And I think that the roasting gives it a particular roasted flavor, which is what you want, even though you are going to be baking it. But that initial roasted flavor is really delicious. So now here's your spaghetti squash. I don't know if how many of you work with it. I'm going to use my hands. You can use a fork to shred it, but I'll use my hands. And it's actually, and you're going to want to cool your spaghetti squash down. before you touch it. Takes a long time to cool down.
If you don't poke it, can it explode?
No, it didn't. This is the second time I've made it. That would be my question in a microwave. I would say if you're going to do it in a microwave, poke it, but then you release a lot of the liquid, and you want the liquid.
Well, microwaving basically is steaming and you're
Yeah.
baking. So it would be more watery in the microwave than in the oven.
Yeah, a lot of it releases when you poke it, and I think that could be an issue. So you want to separate it. As I say, my hands are always my best tool. And it's such a simple, delicious recipe. And I have a piece over here that I'll show you that has already been baked. When did I put the, I know that I have to get the pie tart into the oven soon. And that's got to bake first for about 15 minutes. So separate your spaghetti squash, and it really is like spaghetti. Make sure you don't leave any chunks. I could have used a bigger bowl, but here we are. And also, this is still kind of warm. So let the heat release from it as well, because we're going to add eggs and you don't want to cook your eggs. So if you've got mom hands, which can take any amount of heat, make sure it's really not too warm to cook your eggs. So let me just rinse my hands off. Okay. So the recipe calls for 4 eggs and 1/3 of a cup of sugar. I'm going to put the sugar in and whisk that together. Let's move this. You can take it. Thank you. In the meantime, I'm going to get the, as soon as I mix this up, before I pour it in. So we're incorporating the eggs and the sugar. The topping is brown sugar and margarine. I'm going to get that going on the cooktop because that also has to cool down somewhat before we put it on top. So I don't know if you can see. Oh, you can. Oh, okay.
What a champ.
Pardon?
I say, what a champ Izzy is.
Isn't he though?
Yep. Moving the camera so that you're full in view.
So that absolutely. So no one loses anything. So I'm putting in the margarine and the brown sugar. Gonna mix it around.
How much margarine?
It calls for 2 tablespoons of margarine and 1/2 cup of brown sugar. So we're going to melt this down until it becomes like a caramel type praline. We're going to just let it go. And then we're going to add the pecans, chopped pecans, and the crumbled up biscotti. You can use any nuts. You're not beholden to that. So here we go. This is, oh, can I, back to my counter, if you don't mind. Rabbi. Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. Hello. All righty. So this is a very,
Sorry
very
about
simple
that.
recipe. That's okay. We're gonna put the eggs and sugar in. Put know, I'm using my hands. It's always the best utensil.
Could you add raisins?
You could add anything you like. The recipe calls for a cut up Granny Smith apple and a can of peaches. You can use you can use raisins, you can use dates, you can use apricots, anything you like. I think that you could add cottage cheese or sour cream to make it really, really rich and decadent. We have one Granny Smith apple that I diced, and cinnamon, teaspoon of cinnamon. And I'm gonna have to drain those peaches a little more because I see they really need some more. Can you do that for me or do something? What thing? I hear my praline top going.
Did you add raw apples or cooked apples?
I did. I put in the raw apples. I diced up a green apple, so it gives it a nice tart flavor. So I diced up a green apple. I put in a teaspoon of cinnamon, and I have a can of diced peaches. And that's it. I'm gonna grease a 9x13 pan.
Remain in Mexico, sitting on the edge of the Rio
And
Grande.
somebody needs to mute. There we go. So we've got this going. Let me wash my hands off and I'm gonna grease my pan. Okay. Oh, good. Perfect. 2 cameras. That's still going. And then the recipe says to spray cooking spray on your 9x13. I'm using the margarine, Passover margarine. And Pinky was a lucky recipient. She's my taste tester. So if she didn't like it, I wouldn't be making it today. She liked it. Mikey liked it. Pinky, I'm imagining that Izzy liked it too, or
It
maybe
is
not.
delicious. No, unfortunately, that wasn't for Izzy, but it was definitely for me.
Perfect.
And my
Yeah.
grandson.
So my Izzy liked it, which was really a shocker to me. So now all this, Izzy S liked it. Yes. Just pour this in.
It's sort of a noodle kugel with squash.
Exactly. Exactly what it is. Yeah, it's a noodle. Yes, it is. We're just gonna spread it out into the pan, and that's what's so lovely about it. It's a noodle kugel that's healthy, and don't feel limited to the apple. You can put pears in here, although pears will do a hard type pear, so it doesn't completely cook down because pears tend to do that. So there we go. In the meantime, I'm gonna give me a second. I'm gonna put my Linzer tort into the oven. And let me set my timer. 10 to 15 minutes. There we go. Okay, so I have my Okay, we're back to the full counter. You can move that over. So we're back to the full counter. I'm gonna, here, let's move this here. So, and we could do 2 cameras.
Do you have any other suggestions for the topping crumbs?
Oh, you can, first of all, if you don't have to use any crumbs. The pecans, which I'm gonna put in now, the pecans will make it crunchy. This is very, very sweet. The biscotti or cornflake, any kind of Passover cookie or chunk, you can take a cake meal and mix it with margarine and cinnamon and make a crumble. You can take farfalle and mix it with margarine and cinnamon and make a crumble and put that in. But something that will hold a little bit of texture. Now, this is supposed to cool down a little bit, but we're not going to take the time. So I'm
What
going to
about
add the,
farfalle? Could you use maybe farfalle and sugar?
yes, you could use farfalle. And just throw the farfalle in. Yes, we love farfalle. And farfalle was a,
It was a dog.
no, farfalle was a puppet. Who
Mhm.
remembers Farfalle the puppet? I'm showing you how old I
He
am.
was a dog.
Jerry
you-
Mahoney. Jerry Mahoney. It just came to me. Jerry Mahoney was the ventriloquist, and Farfalle was his dog. Farfalle and Beanie. Wasn't it Farfalle and Beanie?
Beanie and Cecil.
Beanie and Cecil. What do I know? Okay.
That's the Cecil thing.
And didn't we discuss that you could also use broken up matzah?
Yes. Broken up matzah. So I'm going to throw in some of my biscotti crumbs. And I don't have mom hands, but I'm going to use a spoon instead. I would normally just use my fingers to sprinkle this on, but because it's hot. And that's your nice, and it just is a beautiful presentation. It's a great side dish. It's a great dessert because, you know, it's a great vegetable. As I say, you can put cottage cheese in it. It'll thicken it up a little bit and it'll make it really, really rich. It'll give it a lot of body. You can put some sour cream in it, put sour cream on top, cottage cheese on top, and have it for lunch. So let's sprinkle some of this on top.
Somebody mute themselves, please.
Make sure you get the corners.
Yum, yum.
Yum, yum. Any
Yum.
question, any more questions? It's such a good, easy, and can be made several days in advance. You can freeze it. I
What
usually-
temperature do you bake it and for how long?
350, it bakes at 350 and it bakes for about 45 minutes. But you want to jiggle it. And if it is still jiggling, it's not done. It's always the center that takes a little bit more time. But use any dried fruit, any canned fruit. Yeah, it's so easy to be versatile. Okay, there you go. I'm gonna spread it out a little bit. It's gonna seep in there. It's gonna really be delicious. So let me get it in the oven. And I'll set another timer. Okay, now let me clean this up a little bit. Yep. I'm going to clean this up a little bit. And then this is a piece that that's from the kugel that I made last week. I did freeze them. And this one has a graham cracker crust. But you can see, here we go. And you can see the peaches and you see the apples, and it's got a beautiful praline top. And it's really, really delicious. I'd love for you to all have a taste. Put that there. All right. I have my Linzer tart in the oven. These things. Now, what we're going to do with the crust, and I'm really hoping it turns out, it didn't look promising, but we'll see. Here we go. It's kind of hard. I know when I make the strips, it's going to crumble a little bit. I have a pastry wheel. Thanks. I have a pastry wheel. It has a straight side and it has a fluted side. Just depends on how fancy you want it to be. There we go. Has a straight side and a fluted side. Just depends on how fancy you want your lattice to be. I always like to work with the fluted because it just, makes a prettier presentation. So I'm trying to get there we go. There we go. I'm going to attempt always the first one. I don't know if this is going to work. Oh my goodness, it's very windy outside. I have to close a window. I have to close a window. So here we go. Let's see if these are going to work. I'm going to slice them and then put it back into the freezer. And if it doesn't work, it is not going to be a problem because we'll just crumble it up and put it on top, and it'll be a crumb top instead of a lattice top. So no harm, no foul. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think that could use some more margarine. You are witness to my disaster. Yeah, I think we're going to crumble it because I don't think it's going to be able to freeze. So we'll crumble. I'm going to put it back in the freezer just to give it some more body. I'm going to take the Linzer tart out of the oven. Here. I don't know if you'll be able to see, but the crust has puffed up a little bit. Just the air gets into it. We're going to want to bake it on a cookie sheet. Put it on the cookie sheet. There we go. And then again, you can use any jelly or jam you like. I happen to be a fan of raspberry. In a perfect world, we'd let this cool a little bit before we put on the jam. But I mean, this is television, so we don't have the time. And then just spread this out. You don't necessarily have to use the amount on the recipe. You can make it a little bit thicker if you like. You could make it a little bit thinner if you like. To make it really, really special, you can melt some chocolate and put chocolate on top of the nut crust, and then put the raspberry jam on top of that. And there's chocolate and raspberries, just a wonderful combination. So there are many, many things that you can do to add to it to make it a little bit more decadent. Again, this is something, serve it with vanilla ice cream or a whipped cream. There we go. Okay. So I'm just going to sprinkle this on top. I wish that it would have worked better and I could show you some pretty lattice work, but unfortunately that's not happening. So we're just gonna take what we've got, sprinkle it on top.
Benita, did you say to put chocolate first and then the jelly?
Yes, you can put a chocolate layer, melt some chocolate and pour that, spread it onto the crust. And then put the jelly on top of that. You can put it in the refrigerator to let the chocolate set so that you can spread the jelly. Otherwise, it's all going to mix. Now, it did call for an egg wash over the lattice, but since we're not doing a lattice, and this will be like a crumb pie. So no harm, no foul. Just put it on there evenly. And you've got your part baked crust, which always helps. I usually try to bake my crust when I make pies and bake the crust first. Sometimes the recipes don't call for it, but I usually do it just to make sure that the crust is done, because there's nothing worse than doughy crust on a wonderful pie. And we are baking this for, let's see, for how long? 35 to 40 minutes. So I don't know that we'll be together in 35 to 40 minutes, but I will guarantee you it'll be delicious. There we go.
I'm waiting at the door for my share.
Pardon? I didn't hear what you said.
I said I'm waiting at the door for my share.
Well, it's going to take a half hour, so don't stand. I'll call you first. You know, we don't want you just standing at the door tapping your toe.
Oh, okay. I'll try to be.
Okay. All righty. That's today's Passover recipes, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Nobody got any questions?
No questions? What are we all doing for? Is anyone going to a Seder?
Me.
Who's?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yes, we know you are. I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey,
I
Benita,
am.
thank you so much. Those really look
Thank you.
delicious.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
They will taste delicious as well.
Pink
just-
is
it's
gonna decide.
Delicious. The
The
spaghetti
color-
wash is divine.
Yeah, it's really very, very good. It's a wonderful recipe. If you
Um,
wanted to make it, you can, like I say, you can add cottage cheese to it. You can add a couple more eggs and make it really kind of quiche and a lot more sturdy. But this way, it's very, very light. It's spaghetti squash and eggs, and it's just a good vegetarian